Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to another analysis video. Today we're going to be listening to Chop Suey by System of a Down. I'm not as familiar with this song as I am with some of the other bands that I've reviewed so far. So if you do end up liking this video, by the way, please like and subscribe. That helps me know that I'm doing a good job on YouTube. So without further ado, let's just dive right into things, and I'll give you my thoughts. And, well, let's just go. So right now, the chord progression I'm hearing is something like this. We're in G minor. Something like this. So we think here's the tricky thing already is I've listened to this chord progression. I spent a few minutes analyzing it and really kind of figuring out, are we in G minor or are we just kind of floating and not resolving to B flat major? Let's listen on a little bit more, and maybe our ears will answer that question for us. I also, by the way, like the rhythm that they do. It's not a 4-square rhythm like we're used to, but we are in 4. Dun 2 3 4. Bum ba bum ba dum ba dum ba bum ba da dum ba dum ba da ba da ba ba da ba ba da. It's very syncopated. We don't really feel grounded, but you can. It really plays with the meter quite well, and that makes it very groovy. You can still dance it. You can still pulse to it, so to speak. It's not like Tool where it's hard to dance to because you're always doing odd meters, and odd meters can very much interrupt that flow of pulse of rhythm a bit. But that's what makes their music interesting. We're not talking about Tool, we're talking about System of a Down today. So let's keep going. All right. So far pretty good. We have this really massive interruption, right? So we have this really nice intro. Oh, I should talk about this, the chords that you're using, huh? Okay, so we're in G minor. So here's the chords that they're using here. And I'm hearing, although I could be wrong, they could be implying something differently, but maybe. I think it's this chord. It's a half diminished 7th chord, I think, but this is a guitar. I mean, guitars are very easy to add all these embellished tones is what we call. So, like, for example, like these what would you say? So if you take let me make myself clear. So if we take a C major chord, a C major chord by itself is the purest, or a major or minor chord is the purest form of triad of chord. It's the bare minimum amount of notes that you need to have some type of color, so to speak. So basically, if I just take away the third of a chord and leave essentially just a bare open fifth, we often call these power chords in rock music. It doesn't give us really much information. Is it major? Is it minor? We don't know. We need this third to tell us, to give us the color of the chord, and we don't have that. But where I'm trying to get to is, if you take a triad and then you start adding thirds and whatnot on top of it, you start stacking them, then you start adding more embellishing tones. It kind of just, it's still a C major chord at heart functionally, but having a 7th just adds a different type of hue to it. It's like adding a little bit of pepper or some spice to a piece of food, for example. It still functions as a C major chord. I mean, let me give you an example. So if I just play I just play a regular plain old cadence. I can embellish it with, I can, go instead. I'll have to think about this for a second. Hold on. I could do something like this. Maybe. And then maybe I get really fancy. I could start, I don't really do too much jazz, but that's what jazz musicians do a lot, is they embellish, they play around with all these nice 7th chords, these 9th chords, 11ths, omitting certain notes and adding certain notes, but functionally, like at the core, it could be. Let me get back to what I'm trying to say. I think I'm just being confusing now. So G minor chord, right? But even if this next chord that they play is an A half diminished 7th chord, which I think it sounds like it is, we can simplify this and just call it a C minor chord, just to make it easier. And then this next chord, I hear it as an F major chord, and then maybe. And then if we simplify this, we just get rid of the 7th. It's an E flat major chord. So the chord progression at the basic level is G minor. So this would be if we're thinking in the key of G minor, we're in 1, a 4 chord, which is a subdominant chord. That's totally fine, and then a natural 7. So normally we would have this F would be an F sharp in G minor. But it's not, it's just a plain old F major chord. And then back to an E flat major chord. I'm hearing a D in there somehow. I'm hearing a in the music. You can do some really interesting things here. But this is a totally cromulent chord progression as a whole. Now, here's the tricky thing is I'm not too convinced we're in G minor, because all these chords belong in the key of B flat with no problems. So I think it's just not resolving to G flat. I think it's just a deceptive cadence, just looping around and around and around. There's a very famous chord progression that's used in, I think, way too much music. It goes something like this. You've probably heard it before. I mean, how many pieces of music have you heard that chord progression in? And they're very close to doing it here. They're not quite, but because they're going to, or at least embellishing the chords a little bit, making it a little bit more colorful, a little bit more spicy. And I think that's what makes this song a little bit more successful than just being very plain and very simplified. Yeah. So why do I think it's in B flat? Because if we reinterpret these chords, if we hear them just a little bit differently, if we approach them just a little bit differently, I think you'll understand where I'm coming from. So if we think of this as, let's just get our ears adjusted to B flat major. I'll just play a cadence pattern. Good. So our ears are happy. We're in B flat. We're hearing this as a tonic. So now if I play something like this. Now, our ears really want to hear they want to really hear this B flat major chord, because this E flat major chord in the piece that they're using, or the song, is acting as a subdominant chord, and we can hear this. This is so cool. We can hear this as a plagal cadence. Isn't that cool? I don't know. I think that's so cool. We could hear this as a plagal cadence resolving to B flat, but it's not resolving to B flat. It's resolving to G. It's like a deceptive cadence. It's a deceptive cadence. A deceptive cadence. We're going all music theory today, aren't we? All right. So a deceptive cadence is a cadence where I'll go in a different key just to keep things a little bit fresh. So let's go into D. So if we think that we are, so right here we want to resolve to D, right? This points our way back to D, but we can be sneaky. Oh, right? Oh. And then we can resolve back nicely right there. So I think what it is this cadence pattern, or this chord progression, I think really at heart we're in B flat. We just haven't actually settled on B flat, and we might settle on B flat later in the song. Let's keep going. You want to. Take it. We're in 4/4. Now we go into cut time right here. Dun, dun, dun. So we were before. Let me back up because I just talked for a long time, didn't I? Let's just listen to the verse, I guess. 1, 2, 3, 2. Wake up. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. 1, 2, 1, 1, 2. We go into halftime. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. So this is a nice little thing that you can do in music. You can do this in any genre of music, really, and it works really well. You can go if you're in a quick tempo, right? Like what they start out with, they're in a pretty brisk tempo, like 1, 2, baga 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 daga 1 daga 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 daga. So they're in a pretty brisk tempo at the beginning. And baga daga daga. By the way, I can't understand a word of what he's saying. No offense. I'm sure I have to listen to the lyrics. We'll get to the vocalist in due time. So I'll leave that. We'll get to him in due time. Where was I going with this? Oh, so if we're in a fast tempo, you know, daga 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 daga, baga 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 baga, bum, baga daga 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 daga. What's really nice is to then just cut the beat in half, just elongate it by twice. Bum ba ba bum da da da. You still have that underlying tempo. We haven't changed we haven't gone faster or slower. What we've just done is we've just doubled the beat duration. We've just felt it differently. Dun da da dum ba ba bum. Angels deserve to dun 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 dun, and then he goes into double time back again, this normal tempo. So it's a really nice little trick that you can use. I don't know if there's a word for it. At least there isn't something that I can recall. But it's a really neat little trick to kind of build rhythmic anticipation and drive and interest. So in my Master of Puppets video that I just did a few days ago, they did this as well. Metallica did this, so so they do the exact same thing there. And it's a very effective tool. I'm glad to hear this in System of a Down right here. So they go into another verse right here, but angels deserve to die. So they go into half tempo. So everything is twice as long. There's a fancy word that we call this in the music of academic music. We call this augmentation. You augment it. So augment means get bigger. You can use your imagination for some words. Augmentation means to get bigger. So 1, 2, 3, 4, bum bum bum, bum 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 bum, the triplet da da da. Let's keep going on. time. Just hearing the bass. Little pitchy, if I can be honest. Again, once more. So this is the third time. Let's change it. B flat major. And a B in G minor. Nice. All right, so we finally get a B flat major chord. I told you so. So we finally land on that B flat major chord, and it feels very empowering, doesn't it? It feels like we finally have landed. I'll show you the point. Let me see, where is it? Right there. Let me back up just a little bit more. Right there. Again, right there. So you're doing this, so something like this. Or something like that. What are they doing? So if we didn't have that B flat major chord, I'm hearing something along those lines. I can't make it out exactly off the top of my head, but that B flat major chord is really, really, really important because this is the first and only time we hear it in the entire song, and it's near the end, the very end. So it's you can think of the piece as a long trajectory leading to this B flat major final chorus section, so to speak, and there again in half tempo, you can hear it based on the drums and the music, and the other guitars. It would have been really cool if they had a 5 chord. Angels deserve to die. If they ended it like that, I don't know. That's just for my taste. If they had saved it, you know. Angels deserve to die. I think that would have been just killer if they did it like that. But you know they didn't, and that's fine. Clearly I'm wrong because I mean. System of a Down has 1.1 billion views on it on YouTube, so I mean clearly there's something that people like here. Now it's a very good song. It's a good song. I do have some gripes about it if I may quibble about it. Here's my thing. So the first thing is I don't like his voice. Am I the only one? Can I just go on the record and say I don't like his voice? It sounds like he doesn't really have too much control of his voice. It's very pitchy. It's very strained. It's very much up here. And there's a lot of vocalists in popular music. I mean, most popular musics, they use, I could be completely wrong when I say this, but there's head voice, chest voice, and when you sing like this, when you sing with just your vocal cords, it's a different support system entirely. I'm not a vocal coach, by the way. I'm doing the best I can trying to explain this, but basically, when you're singing up here, you don't have a lot of support, and your voice sounds very nasally. And again, it's hard to control your pitches and your it's hard to control your voice singing up here, which is what I hear. He has a very tenory voice. He has a very high pitched. I don't want to say high pitched like a woman's voice, but it's very much a tenor level voice, I'd say. Where most metal or rock band music lead singers or vocalists have a more or less baritone or bass voice, which accompanies the music to a much greater degree. Because most times, I mean, if you're playing heavy metal music, it's gonna be low. It's gonna be pretty low and aggressive and edgy. But if you have someone that's singing in this register, it just kind of sticks out and it doesn't fit. It just doesn't. There's something about it where you need a little bit of grit in your voice. You need a little bit of. You need a little bit of grunt and grit. He doesn't really have that, I want to say. Now, clearly, like I said earlier, I'm in the minority here because if you have 1 billion views on your song, you're doing pretty well. So I think I'm missing something here. System of a Down's music, by the way, because I don't want to get copyright strike, that's why I'm playing this live version, but I have listened to the original several times. And the way that they mixed it feels very forward in the mix. It feels like they're right in your face. It feels kind of almost lo-fi sounding, if that makes sense. And it kind of gives it a very amateurish sound to it. Doesn't give it a very refined and clean sound, especially with the vocalist who there's been points where I've kind of shivered a little bit just because it sounds so strained. His voice sounds so strained and forced. I wish I could play a little bit, but you could hear a lot of it in here as well. Where it's if he supported lower here, he could really have a much bigger sounding voice. His voice is just a little thin for me. And also the composition as a whole, it's I get a sense of System of a Down has a sense of droll to them. Their music always sounds a bit droll and sarcastic. I don't know how to best explain it, but it's not in a bad way, by the way. I want to make that clear. It's not like it's bad. It just sounds a bit sarcastic. I think that's the best way I can put it. Sarcastic. Where you start with this huge, this really, the intro, if we go back to the very beginning. I mean, that's a very mature, very melodic intro. Very humble. So something like that. And it's like, yeah, and you can imagine this being maybe a ballad that you're expecting to hear. And then they slap you across the face, right? Because really, I mean, I imagine most of us have listened to the song to the point of just memorizing every single part of the piece, where any deviation from it would feel just wrong and incorrect. But I think it's good to try to approach music with fresh ears. Try to think, what if they changed something? Like, what if? I mean, imagine this isn't the only way you could play this song. Like, what if they changed some things around? What if they did something different from the original? I always like to approach music like that, where even like really good music, I'm never satisfied with a piece of music because I always hear different things. I always hear like, oh, there's like little missed opportunities. I think that they could have done something just a little bit differently, changed one note, changed one little thing, and it would have made it just a little bit better or a little bit worse. You don't know, but yeah, then they go into this really heavy, grungy guitar riff. Reminds me very much of, grunge music, really, like from the 90s and whatnot. So, And then once he comes in, you don't expect this at all. I mean, you don't expect him. You don't expect this at all. They're all very big surprises happening one after another. So it's just weird. It's just weird. It works. I mean, it works. Again, I think I'm wrong. I think I'm missing something here, but it clearly works. The song form itself, let's see, you have an intro, you have a verse, which is what he's doing here, and then you have a chorus, where you go into halftime. Angels get ready to die, and then boom, okay, so that's all an A section, and then you have repeat again, so you have an A prime. You don't have a solo in here. I think a solo may have been cool in here, but yeah, whatever. So, and then you have an A prime again. So it's like a 3-part repeated song form. Well, you have a little bit of a bridge in there, like most music of this genre has. So, but overall, I'd give this probably a B- if I was going to grade it on, musicality, so to speak. But that's just my opinion, and you're allowed to have your opinion. I'm allowed to have my opinion, and again, I think I'm wrong personally, because if you have 1 billion views on a video, you're doing something right. So, but overall, I do enjoy the song. It's not for me. It's not something I just rave to, but it's a melodic song, especially near the end. Wherever the lyrics are. But yeah, I enjoy it. So, with all that said, I think I'll just cut it off right here. So, if you guys enjoyed this video, again, please leave a like and subscribe, and let me know what else you'd like me to listen to and give my opinions on. So, down below, in the comments down below. Right. I will catch you guys all next time. Take care.